Good morning and welcome to Get Arrow, Get Secure. My name is Dennis Cirillo. I'm the Executive Director of Operations for Arrow Security. I'm hosting for Mike Blangiforti, who's away on assignment today. With me today is former Police Commissioner Richard Dormer from Suffolk County.
Good morning.
He's the Vice President of, the Executive Vice President of Arrow. We're going to be talking about traveler safety tips today. And Commissioner, I mean, we're in the middle of the travel season. The summer's upon us. A lot of people are going away. There's a lot of things to, take a look at.
Well, people they let their hair down during their travels and during the holiday season. But it doesn't mean that they should let their guard down.
Mm-hmm.
They should be aware of their surroundings. And in the security business, we talk about hardening the target when we talk about buildings and facilities. But also we can say to our travelers, you are a possible victim. So you have to harden yourself and your surroundings. So you got to be smart about this. You got to be careful. And, there are certain things that they should be aware of if they're going to travel even in country or out of the country.
And obviously, traveling out of the country presents a whole set of difficulties that you might encounter. We have various websites that our people can use when going out of state, such as the State Department, that list problems overseas. And I think it's a good idea to check some of those websites.
Well, if young people are traveling in particular, and my kids traveled out of the country, and I would always warn them about following the laws of the country that they're going to be in. The laws can be different from the U.S. And, you watch shows on television about our people, Americans, arrested overseas. And it's a completely different animal than being arrested in America. And in fact, the laws are different. So what you could get away with over here, you wouldn't get away with in other countries. And Americans, let's be honest about this. Americans can become targets in some countries for a lot of reasons. And so when you're on travels overseas and somebody approaches you and they're very friendly, beware. Why are they approaching you? Why do they want to talk to you? And the other simple safety tips about your personal property when you travel overseas. Number one, make sure you have the numbers from your passport. When you go to a country and you check into the hotel, put your valuables in the safe at the hotel. Know the number of the embassy of the country that you're in or the city that you're in. If you have traveler's checks, make sure that you have photostats of them. Your credit cards. Know the telephone number of your credit card company before you leave the country. You may not be able to obtain that number if you're in a foreign country to call in if you lose it. And so, simple things like that we tend to forget about. Like I said, you let your hair down, you want to have fun, you want to be friendly, you want to put on a good face. But there are a lot of people that prey on travelers. Don't become a victim. And one other thing that a show I was watching the other night about a female traveler out of the country was bringing a package back for somebody. Somebody approached them. They made friends with these people in the country, and then they said, look, I want to send a package to Aunt Mary in New York. Could you deliver this for me?
Oh, boy.
Yes, and very innocently enough, they board the plane to fly out of the country, and they get arrested for possession of narcotics, and now have to deal with that in a foreign country. So, simple things like that. If they want to send it to Aunt Mary, let them mail it
Absolutely.
to Aunt Mary.
No, you bring up some great tips. I mean, talking about local laws, we could be just talking generally about driving. I mean, in a lot of different countries, we drive on the opposite side of the street. So just the safety factor alone. And also walking around with things that identify you as an American and wearing an American flag, maybe a state or a college type of T-shirt. that's going to, set you out as an American amongst others, and you are going to be, could possibly become a target.
I'll give you one other simple thing, and to your viewers, and they probably understand this anyway, but it's worth repeating. Females in our society walk around every day with their handbag over their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
They got everything in there. They got stuff in there that they don't even know they have.
Right.
But you can't do that when you're visiting a strange city.
Mm-hmm.
Do not have your handbag over your shoulder as you walk down the street. Somebody will come by on a bicycle or a motorcycle, take the bag off your shoulder, yank it off your shoulder, and they're gone. So if you have valuables in there, and I assume that females think everything in there is valuable, but I would say don't have your traveler's checks in there, your credit cards, your passport. The other stuff you can replace.
Absolutely.
You'll be aggravated and upset, but at least you can replace the other items that you utilize every day. Simple things like that. The big problem that you may have is if you go to the beach and you take valuables with you. When you go in the water, what do you do with the valuables?
Right.
Do you leave them on the blanket?
Absolutely
No,
not.
no. You got to leave somebody with your stuff. And so, things like that. It does put a crimp on you, letting your hair down, so to speak. But again, carrying the valuables. When you go to a restaurant, do not hang your bag on the back of your chair.
Right.
Somebody will come by and take the bag, you won't even know it. Keep it between your feet or on the seat beside you. So, simple things like that. If you do get in trouble, if for some reason the police do confront you for some reason, make sure you reach out to the consulate or the embassy. Also let your family know where you're going to be and where you're traveling.
Absolutely.
So, they'll know or should know where you are, and you keep in touch with them. With communication the way it is today, you can keep in touch with your family very quickly.
You talk about documents and having passports on you, possibly driver's license, important documents. It's a good idea to take these items before you leave and scan them. All right, this way you have them on you, you know the numbers, it's easy to replace them. You also spoke about not trusting strangers. Go to a beach or maybe if you're there with a group of people and you meet other people, don't trust and assume that they're going to be your friends and they can watch your valuables at the beach, because they may take off with those valuables.
And I should mention too, Dennis, I traveled overseas with, my daughter was on a girls' soccer team, and they were 16, 17 years old. And let me tell you, it was a horror show for me and my wife to keep an eye on them. I'd never do it again. But we're in a foreign country, and these young ladies want to experience the culture. They want to go out at night. They want to meet people.
And they're trusting.
Exactly. They're very naive about stuff. And, your viewers are probably nodding their heads right now and saying, yeah, I got somebody at home like that. So, you try to warn them to be careful, that not everybody is nice. And at the same time, we want them to enjoy their vacation. We want them to have a good time. We want them to meet people. We want them to interact with foreigners, because that's what Americans do, and that's what you do on vacation.
Right.
You can't put yourself in a box and stick your head in the sand. So it's just that you can do that, but be careful. You can, and drinking, and as you mentioned, Dennis, and the drug issue. Our young people have to be very, very careful of that when they're in a foreign country.
Talking about drugs, I mean, medications that you normally have, you should make sure that you have enough medications when you do travel, because a lot of times in a foreign country, you may not be able to get the same medication that you're normally used to taking. And also, if you are able to get that, who knows, you're no longer the Federal Drug Administration, who knows what kind of substances are in those foreign medications. It may not be something that you normally do take. In addition, I've also heard people getting travel documents, another passport, like a dual citizenship type of thing, but they're not carrying around an American passport. If you had a dual citizenship, let's say in Italy, for example, and you're carrying around an Italian passport, that might be such a good idea.
Yeah, in Europe, yes. The European Union is wide open now. Most of the countries in Europe have common borders, and they have a common passport. And you mentioned the prescriptions, which is very important to people that are traveling. Make sure it's in the original container, your prescription,
Absolutely.
so that the customs people can check it, because it's probably a narcotic, a controlled substance, so it can't be in an unlabeled container. That could create a problem for you if you're checked.
And you also mentioned, for example, women carrying their pocketbooks over their shoulders and becoming a victim of a robbery or something. If something does happen, we don't suggest that you fight back. I mean, we don't want to be instead of a robbery victim, maybe a homicide victim. So if you do get accosted, make sure that you do give up whatever they're looking for. You don't want to become a statistic overseas or anywhere else.
Not over property, Dennis. Like I said, even if you have very valuable stuff in the pocketbook, it's not worth losing your life or being seriously injured. But again, that's where you utilize the safe at the hotel. You put your valuables in there. Only take what you need with you when you go out on the town during the day or at night. And be careful. It's common sense. You harden the target. Again, that's part of the pocketbook on the shoulder is part of hardening the target. You're the target. And tourists everywhere in the world are targets, not just Americans. So we have tourists that come to New York City and they become targets. We read about these stories where they get ripped off by taxi drivers. By the way, I should say that most taxi drivers are honest.
Absolutely.
But we have people that prey on foreigners. So it happens in our country too. And so, again, common sense, be safety conscious all the time.
And it seems so easy to spot a tourist. I mean, I spent a better part of my police career in Times Square, and you look around and you can spot the tourists like
Well,
that.
I was thinking, Dennis, as you mentioned about Americans not looking like Americans when they go to another country. Forget about it. They know you're American.
Sure they do.
The minute you walk down the street, they can tell you're a Yank.
Right.
Doesn't matter where you go. I don't care, unless you're being over here from another country for 6 months, 7 months, and you blend in pretty easily. But Americans can't hide. They can
They
tell.
really
Because we're
can't.
always smiling.
That's
We're
right.
Happy, we're a happy people.
And don't flash that jewelry out there. I mean, you don't want to become a target because you appear to be affluent, even if you're not. But in many cases, you are. I mean, you're carrying around a good sum of money because you're on vacation, you want to enjoy yourself, and it's not good to be flashy.
Well, they think we're all rich. Americans are rich. So if you're from America and you're traveling to a foreign country, you must be rich.
Right.
So.
Also, avoid petting stray animals that may be in other countries. I mean, diseases out there, there's certain problems. So just, know your surroundings, know where you're going. It's even with restaurants. I mean, you go into these back roads and, you want to try the local flair, and all of a sudden you got a bad case of food poisoning.
And you never go alone.
That's correct.
That's, we shouldn't even have to say that.
Right.
Go with your partner, go with your family, go with your friend. Don't go to a bar by yourself or a restaurant or walk on the streets at night by yourself.
Common
It's not
sense.
smart. It's not smart. You wouldn't do that in the United States unless you were in your home area and you know the community. But again, that's being smart and being careful, and then you have an enjoyable time and you arrive back home with good memories of the trip.
And that's what we hope. If you are going away, this is the travel season. Stay safe while you're overseas or you're visiting another state. Make sure you do the right thing. Be safe, know your surroundings, and I think we pretty much covered a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have. I think, most people know this stuff too, Dennis. It's just that a reminder is always good for the family, and when they're going overseas and they're going on vacation or traveling throughout the U.S. It's a good idea to advise your kids to be careful. I mean, parents always worry about their youngsters traveling. you know, that's what parents do. They worry. I mean, it's in their DNA. And so the kids should, when I say kids, I'm talking about the teenagers and young adults, should listen to their parents when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that, you know, it just reminds me about the, you know, spring break and, you know, things that go on with your kids. And, you know, it's scary to be a parent today.
Yeah, it
But
is.
we've all gone through it, and, you know, hopefully you stay safe while you're on vacation. And that's some of the tips that you can use. So for Mike Blangiforti, I'm Dennis Cirillo. We're former Commissioner Rich Dormant. We'd like you to stay safe out there, use some of these tips, and remember, get Arrow, get secure.